Three, two, one. Cleared for landing. Another Cantina Chronicles. We are covering the comics this week as well as Bad Batch. Yeah. Very excited. Yes. Very excited to do a double feature of Bad Batch and comics. I couldn't be happier to be reunited with my the Jedi Council, my fellow masters over here. How are you guys doing?
Awesome, man.
Good. Remind me when we get to Bad Batch, I want to open it up with one simple question for y'all, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
All right. That's I think they call that a front cell in the biz.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, man, no, I'm doing awesome. Thinking a lot about Star Wars these days. It's nice to have a double header going on with the Bad Batch. I watched Dune today. I feel like maybe we should wait for Adam to watch it, and then I think we should have a Dune Star Wars crossover conversation.
I think that's a great idea.
Maybe we can sell that for next week, depending on recording schedules. But yeah.
That'll be rad. But definitely
got the babysitter set up.
Yeah, I was super happy with it. So if you're thinking about
it, I'm so excited. Yeah.
What is Star Wars in a post Dune Part 2 world?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Be a great conversation. Tune in.
And yeah, man, want to say hi to Jonathan. He listened to us. I don't know if it was for the first time last week, but I found out Jonathan, our homie from HBS, was listening to the pod. So I just wanted to say hi. We were caught up with our hair on fire in the control room, I think, when I saw him. He told me that, but just wanted to say that's awesome. Thank you very much for listening.
Hi, Jonathan. You'll probably never meet me.
Yeah.
Many late nights playing video games together recently. A game called Helldivers 2 recently released, and it's been a kind of fascination and obsession of mine recently. I just think it's just such an incredible gaming experience. I think a lot of other people are enjoying it. It seems like there's just lots of players, active players out there. Definitely check it out if you love sort of science fiction. If you love, Dune, and you love Starship Troopers, and you love Terminator, and you love a lot of like science fiction kind of movies and IP and books, it's definitely check out Helldivers 2. It kind of captures the essence of a lot of these really cool sort of IP that are already out there in one game. And Jonathan and I have been enjoying that, and hopefully Outlaws comes out and we can have him on, maybe talk about that. Maybe Jason, Jonathan,
that'd be fun.
Both jump on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Rad, man. Yeah, no, anyways, just been thinking a lot. There's been a lot of like news headlines popping up. Like a random Disney just made $12 billion on Star Wars, tripling its investment. So they're doing great. Like post that just like popped up. Like when that happens, I'm like, all right. They're just trying to stay in the, like, I don't know who released that or who wanted to talk about that, but it was like, all right.
So I don't know, but for all you they're gonna fire Kathleen Kennedy or Lucas is coming back to take it over. No,
I know.
$1 billion
wiping tears with fat stacks over there.
Billions of dollars. That's billions with a B. They're fine.
I think
and it's set up for success. Like a lot of people, I think, criticize maybe just how many movies were deployed, after acquisition of Lucasfilm and Star Wars, the IP, and I feel like. It was just laying seeds for a very fruitful sort of beginning here, where the sequels were successful, and then
$1 billion a movie doesn't lie.
Blossomed, all these different shows blossomed out of the sort of Disney Plus and the streaming wars that begun the streaming wars have at this point, and there's so many shows now, and it's like. It's only going upwards, and we're really entering golden age. Like if we're not in a golden age already, we're definitely
as a Star Wars fan. Heck yeah,
it's true. I think
I look at my wife all the time, and I'm like, I think they're making stuff for me, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like I just don't understand why the things are coming out that like nobody knows about, but like very few, I think, like Star Wars fans or like just I guess the majority of Star Wars fans sort of understand, but in a total, as a whole, it's a kind of a minority, as Star Wars fandom in general. I feel like
say the Bad Batch to someone random,
like shows that's like Thrawn and Ahsoka. I really do wonder how many people are really versed in Thrawn and Ahsoka and sort of characters like that.
I have a long running theory that I am currently in a bed, in a coma, at age 16. That something happened horribly to me at age 16, and I am in a coma somewhere because literally everything I love has had its heyday and is getting more and more and more. Like I was obsessed.
You're getting more
everything. I was obsessed with zombie films, and we got all of the zombies.
All the zombies.
All of the zombies.
I love Jurassic Park, and now there's too much.
Yeah, same with zombies,
and it's not great either. It's really diluted at this point. Like the brand dilution is just embarrassing at this point. But like, I do love Jurassic Park, the first one, and I would love someone to just almost like go back and just sort of investigate the park as the wholesome, the sort of like holistic sort of like it's seeing the park for the first time again sort of movie. Like it's almost like what I think needs to happen rather than these extrapolations of world dinosaurs getting out, more parks being created. And, approach.
Wait, I've got it. It's zombies in Jurassic Park.
He says it's zombie dinosaurs.
Zombie. Can we have that? Right. It's a zombie apocalypse, but like surprise, you're in a boat, you land on an island. It's Jurassic Park, but they're also zombies.
Wait, Jaws, Jurassic Park, and zombies in one film? Is that what you're proposing?
There we go. Yeah. And throwing a lightsaber, and it's all good.
Yeah, let's make some money. We were just talking about not being cynical when before we started recording, and here we are pitching zombie dinosaur movies.
Were we? I was not partaking. I had not partaken in that.
No, that was directed all towards me.
No, I have strong feelings about cynicism in general. It's
but nonetheless, I just feel like I get what you're saying, Adam. It's like things that are coming out, such deep cut nerd stuff, like it's just things that I never thought would get a lot of focus.
Yeah,
and like Thrawn and like Legends novels at this point
again
are basically being canonized.
I will say again, I remember checking out the book from a local library, sitting in the back of my parents' car, driving down to New Jersey, reading that book, and like now, like Thrawn exists. Like I can look at a live action Thrawn. That's wild. I think
that's where the dictionary got that picture for nerd from, right? They just took a picture of you sitting there.
It's like here's the thing. All these nerds, all these negative nerds need to shut up. Because like here's the thing, like you don't know how good we have it. Is it all perfect? No, nothing's all perfect. But there's so much of it. I remember like waiting until X-Men came out. The first X-Men movie came out, and I'm like, oh my god, they're wearing leather, but it doesn't look like their costumes, and like they kind of talk about, oh my god, it's the X-Men, like it's the best thing ever. Like, shut up, enjoy it. Don't ruin it for us. Have your side conversations and complain.
Well, they don't get in the leather right away. There's a down to earth sort of like bar scene in the beginning where it's Wolverine in a biker jacket, and it's like I can get behind that. Like as long as you
does it hurt?
Sort of
every time
the panels to life in some way.
Yeah,
I can get behind.
Anyway, complaining's fine, criticism's fine. Just be thoughtful about it and don't.
Criticism is fine as long as you're good natured and have altruistic political leanings. It's fine.
well said. Yeah,
I know. I've been feeling bad about dissing Kiner last week, all week, because I was like, that's more neggy than I always go. This is Star Wars now for me. And it's like I can always ask for more.
What if I said Kiner gets it? Like almost Kiner's almost like your dream composer because he gets it so I would almost argue that Kiner changes up the music quicker than any other composer to sort of add the melodrama to every scene. Yeah, every specific scene.
It does a different thing, but it's like for an animation, and they set this precedent back in.
It's very animation. It's styled for animation.
The criticism I have is he's good at every style, and so I'm like, the animation. Let's just say that's the animation. They made a choice. They're not going to do sort of leitmotif Star Wars there. If they just want basic swells and like. Whatever's going on. And he's taken more risks lately, I think, in Bad Batch. But then I was thinking about Ahsoka, right? Ahsoka is a chance for him to put his fingerprint on a series. And he did. I noticed, like, actually there is a theme for Ahsoka, but it's super subtle. It's like those Japanese drums where you just hear, like, you hear the rim shots too.
Yeah.
And it's super fast. It's like click, 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 click. Because they used it in Mandalorian also for her. Yeah. And I was like...
That episode, the Jedi.
So I was like, okay, that's dope. But the thing is, he's like too good at too many styles. Like I kind of want him to just pick one, like of his own. Yeah. It's like he just like ping pongs from like.
I understand what you're saying. I just think you totally sort of respect him as a creator and a musician.
I'll never be 100th of what that man is.
It's just more that like you're like I think if you give him some limitations where it's like you can't just create new music. Instead of just shifting new music for every scene and to sort of like amplify that scene, maybe you need to create a holistic score that sort of
I like to pick a style and sort of go.
But it's geared towards animation. So I think what he's doing in this show specifically, I think in Ahsoka he'll hang on a number longer.
Yeah.
Whereas in Bad Batch he'll change it up quickly, especially like the Shadow clone. We'll get into it. Like he's like that music's like it's like the spy stealth music you heard in every spy thriller. Yeah. But it's awesome. It's like the GoldenEye stuff that I live for. So it's like, yes.
So he does like these little homages to like, to each style. Like he could like flawlessly, but it's also just like hard cuts into like these just very different things. And I'm like, just like give it a patois. Give it like your own.
Well, that's the thing.
And pick a selection of instruments or something and just go with those or something.
I think they should do that. And I think they should fully back Kiner because here's the thing. Ludwig's gone. He's never coming back. Everyone could accept he's never coming back.
That's not true. He was coming back for Lando. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. He's never coming back.
If Donald Glover does Lando, he's going to do Lando.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben.
There's no way he's not doing Lando.
I will bet you $100 right now
it'll be so fly.
He'll write the theme and then hand it off to someone else. That man just walked away with an Oscar. He is never coming back.
Totally understand what you're
Lando
saying.
But Lando
he's gone.
It calls for music. The Lando calls for a lot of in-galaxy music.
They have a band together, man. Yeah, that's Childish Gambino. That should just be a music video. That whole series should just be like.
And look, oh man, I really wanted to join you. I'm busy scoring 7 other films. I can write you or have the other person in my arsenal write you your theme. He's never coming back.
But he lives for the art, and the art is Lando. And Lando can be real art.
Yeah.
Never come back.
Adam, I hear you, man. I definitely you're right. He's in a different stratosphere now.
Yeah.
He's
the stratosphere is.
And
he's Christopher Nolan's guy now.
That's the thing. And I will always be so thankful for what he did for The Mandalorian. That was amazing. So you need someone who is not going away. And that's Kevin Kiner. He's not going anywhere. This is his bread and butter. Just give him more freedom and turn the mix up a little bit. Like let him go. Let him do his thing.
That's the thing
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to know what does Kevin Kiner sound like? Like we know what Nicholas Britell sounds like. We know what Ludwig Göransson sounds like. We know what John Williams sound like. Like what's your deal, man? Like
how did Nicholas Britell gain so much buy-in after one season of TV and I've just never seen a composer just be like, this person's the best composer to hit cinema and to hit sort of just filmmaking we've ever had.
I have a theory on that, Grant. I think Tony Gilroy has scored films before, and he loves music, and he is a musician.
That's right. He's in the
and
band.
Nicholas Britell is super young, so I have no confirmation on this, but it just feels like Gilroy had a lot of input as to what that score was going to sound like. Like it's stylized, right? Like it is a super stylized sound, and I've heard in interviews. Tony Gilroy was like, we'd spent a lot of time together on the score.
Every single track is good.
It's just been
I know a lot of it's the same motif happening, but it's like every track is good.
Yeah, well, I think that's Britell's making sick music, but I think for the stylistic direction, that's super unique for that whole show. I think that's Gilroy.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Makes a lot of sense.
Or at least he has a little hand in it. I mean, I'm all the credit to Britell, man. It's his name on the thing. It doesn't have Gilroy's name on it. So,
but I think you're right. I think Gilroy was in a lot of rooms saying, "Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you turn that up? Can you turn that down?
Yeah.
Can you do I feel like it's still
what
Britell,
if we rolled
right?
up the top of all of our synthesizers so it's super cold and I think. He has that kind of knowledge. I think he would do that.
Or the diegetic, all them playing the Marva sort of Requiem or whatever, that the streets. It's that was a choice, basically.
Yeah.
And I know he's in a band. And I know what does he play? Bass or guitar or lead guitar? I don't know.
But the hammer thing.
But I get the Kiner thoughts that you're presenting here, and he's great. It's almost like maybe on Ahsoka season 2 or maybe on the Mando movie, he's brought in to sort of make some long tracks.
My main point for bringing that up is just that this was a choice for the animation that they were going to do it this way, and he's done a beautiful job. He's written more Star Wars music than everyone not named John Williams. He's made a ton of music. When you think of 7 seasons of Clone Wars, Ahsoka, Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi. Like, he's done a ton of music. Maybe he's done more than, like, he's encroaching John Williams at this point. Yeah, Rebels.
Oh, I think he's absolutely done more than John Williams. I think just because about screen time and whatever.
Yeah. Sure. Screen time, music playing.
Yeah, quantity versus quality. Yeah. Not that his isn't quality, but, you know.
No, it's great.
I think he's filling a lot.
But he's so safe. He's just so damn safe. I'm like, get weird.
Well, I think
that's like a personal
I think part of it is
thing.
Yeah. I think part of it is he's used to scoring 30 minutes of television once a week, right? As opposed to getting a major motion picture.
Yeah.
Like, I really be interested to give him a movie. Give him one of the movies coming out. Just give him one, right? And let him prove it, like, let him do his stuff and see what it is.
Filoni's
right?
making a movie.
Give him that, because you have more time. You have bigger guns behind you, right? You have a lot of things to do, because, like, Goranson's great. Like, The Mandalorian sounds good, but, like, when you listen to his, like, film scores, he has another level, right? Because he has all of that behind him.
Oh, it's so musical,
unbelievable,
and then so beautifully stylized. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Should we talk about some news?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, news.
We saw a little thingery-do here. I forgot it already. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Oh yeah, Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron lives. Rogue
Squadron, yeah.
Rogue Squadron lives.
It lives in much that Patty Jenkins said, "Oh, I owe them a script."
Yeah,
but still, that means it's
something. I'm in a development contract, and I owe them. And I was like, okay, like, that's cool. But what is Rogue Squadron to you guys? Yeah. When you hear that, like, what do you think?
I mean, if it's not Wedge, I don't care.
It's going to be like Red Tails.
Oh, wow. We did see Wedge in Rebels, though. We saw, like, young Wedge in the Imperial Academy, and we saw some stuff there.
Yeah. But, I mean, you asked me, what is Rogue Squadron? I could go pick up my books right behind me.
Yeah.
And that's number 1 is Wedge. Number 2 is Wedge. Number 3 through 28 is Wedge.
Formation of, like, the first Rogue Squadron, like, and them jumping into the ships for the first time and flying and rebel missions, like early rebel missions. Essentially.
Can you imagine the nostalgia bombs there, where you're just like, it would be like Lost Stars? Yeah. You know, where you're just on the periphery of the original trilogy, but you're not close enough to the center to be in the main story. And they're just like sort of like, they could be around all of that stuff.
But I think there's IMAX potential here. I think that's maybe what Lucasfilm and Patty Jenkins are thinking. They're thinking, hey, we're going to put audiences in an X-Wing and have them, do...
It'll be like Top Gun,
Death Star. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it what you picture with, like, Lucas on the old, making of Star Wars, talking about him watching, like, reels of fighter pilots and him using that for the... Like, just do that now in the X-Wing. I mean, which is weird, right? Because you're right, it's Top Gun. But if you watch Top Gun Maverick, here's a little secret about Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
It's just Star Wars. Guys, it's Star Wars. It's literally episode 4. There's a trench run. There's a trench run in that film. That has the exact same events as Star Wars.
You're exactly right. Yeah, well, I mean, I can think of, like, stealth. I can think of, like, every jet fighter movie at this point now has a trench. I have to think that's Star Wars, essentially. Just given that, like, the canyons and flying within the canyons is just like Hollywood's, like, that's perilous, right? Like, sort of approach to things. I wonder what this could be, this project. And I almost, like, at the same time, it's like, if it's a movie and it's X-Wings and it's the Galactic Civil War, like, what can the X-Wings possibly do that impacts the war in a way that seems sort of, like, reasonable for a movie?
They could do, like, missions between, like, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and just, like, side missions the whole time. I mean, that would...
Yeah, is it side missions the movie? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm worried about.
I mean, they could then, like, the I don't know, or the main scene could be, it could work its way up to the second Death Star, and, like, suddenly you're there, and,
To me, this is such a better Disney Plus series, because then it's just pilots
should be a series.
Getting these rogue, Z95 headhunters from the Outer Rim and being like, these are X-Wings essentially. You're going to be piloting these, and like they're like let's jump in rogue like fringe fighters that are not TIE fighters, and like let's try and fight TIE fighters. Like, to me, that's a show. Yeah, it's not like a movie.
Right. Yeah, like an episodic thing.
Tough.
It's like an episodic thing.
Part of what I'm thinking is just like, so, all right, so I'm Disney now, or I'm Lucasfilm, and like two kind of most successful things in terms of critical praise and like fandom is why can't Rogue One?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it Rogue One and Andor, right? So like you're like, all right, Patty, give us gritty, right? And we were talking about this a bit of this off air about Masters of the Air, which is currently streaming on Apple Plus. We will go into a critical evaluation of that show.
I use this as a comp when I was talking about.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Grant. I think there's something there. No, but there's something there of just like, I kind of want, and this is going to sound really talking about cynicism. I kind of want a high body count in this thing of just like, because that's what we see at the beginning of like, that's what we see at the trench run, right? Yeah. It's just like them losing, like I want that of just of mission after mission of them just winnowing down, and Wedge has to be like the only one who's left alive, right, in all of these missions. Who's just like, but it's still, because I love it because Wedge is still like he keeps his belief right in this and keeps losing people. Right. So I think there's something there. I think you could do that. I just don't. But you're right. Wedge. I don't know what the mission is.
Wedge is lead almost. He's like number one on the call sheet. Wedge Antilles essentially. Like, I just don't know how you do it without Wedge.
I know, and
I don't know. I mean,
Wedge is Ewan McGregor's uncle.
But you recast a young Wedge.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, you have to.
100%. I mean, is it Wedge? And is the beginning of the film the trench run? And is the end of the film him flying into the Death Star 2?
It could be. That'd be wild. That's the macro. It could be super micro too. It could be like one mission and like one planet at one space station.
Totally.
And it's just like the pilots and what they're going through, and the runs, and it's like there's something that can't be backed, but the only thing that'll do.
What about the Death Star 2 schematics? Like, Rogue One was one thing, but there's another movie.
You saying when we're flying with Bothans?
We're gonna go to the Bothans.
Covering the Bothans, giving them like support, covering fire from the air.
Welcome to Bothan banter.
As they retrieve some plans. Like, to me, that's like the Darth Vader hallway scene could literally just be, you could just instead just do Bothans, doing agile tricks through a hallway with plans, and then squadrons fighting in the skies above. Like, it could be a whole different thing.
What would be fascinating about this is like if, like, I was just thinking about this. A New Hope is the only Star Wars movie that the entire third act is in an X-wing. Like they cut back to the base, but that's it. It's the trench run. It's the assault on the Death Star. Every other Star Wars film cuts between a space mission and a in-person mission, right? Like a down thing. So I'm like, I kind of want them to have the guts. Just have that. Like, I do not want to see them in their flight suits running around doing some of the third act. Like, it should be done in the X-wing.
Yeah. I think we'll get that. I think we will get a scene of all of them sitting around in a hangar with all their greeblies and all like the ugly stuff they are drinking, jet juice, the homemade hooch that's been in all the books about pilots and stuff. I guarantee you that scene will be in there somewhere.
I mean, is Battlestar Galactica like the comp? Right, because like when I think about that, I just think of the new. It's now like 15 years old, or more. But like the most current version of Battlestar Galactica, right, is so much of the Viper. Are they called Vipers? Why is that in my brain?
Yeah, that's right.
Weird. That show's amazing. But like so much of them like cutting back to them smoking cigars and playing poker, right, or space poker. With their weird, for some reason we take our sheets of
that's it. There's a whole starfighter pilot culture that I think we miss out on, and we really haven't had product in a show or movie sort of represent, which is like, what's it like to be a gritty starfighter pilot, like in the Rebellion, and like long term, like maybe the movie almost focuses on an ensemble of pilots.
Yeah.
I know the Alphabet Squadron definitely whetted our appetite for that sort of stuff, but a lot of people haven't read those books. Did not read those books, and so they just don't really get into that culture like we did in the reading those books. Where it's like that culture on screen would be awesome.
Yeah,
like
absolutely,
it's just so cool.
Those are such visceral books,
And there's things I will again note that I'm not the biggest fan of Masters of the Air, but part of that I think is trying to fit a narrative on top of real world events, which sometimes makes it hard because like you have to tell it how it happened. But there's things in that show that I do love, which is them cutting back to like the cantina and like them kind of hanging out and talking about things and dealing with trauma or not dealing with trauma.
Right.
Like there's a scene that was like I think in episode 4 or 5 when they're sitting there watching like a movie and you just see the red light go on. That's this like mission. And there's a scene where you can just see like half of the guys just being like seeing it and then like just looking away and pretending like I didn't see it. I didn't actually see it. And just like kind of have these extra 5 seconds.
Wow.
Of just watching this movie before I have to go back up and probably get shot down. There's a thing in that show which is hard to watch. Again, I'm only halfway through it, but that show is just like halfway through that show is just like the fact that we're understaffed and we're supposed to get a mission off. I'm sorry, the war doesn't work that way. Like that's what the rebellion should be. It's just like, yeah, you went up 12 hours ago, you're going back up again, and you're going back up again, and you're going back up again, right? Of just like this the monotony of the machine of war.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a TIE fighter sort of like sister POV to that as well. With what their life is like.
Oh, like Shadow Wing.
Yeah, like that Shadow Wing stuff. Because that was a nice contrast.
That was a great comic series by Jody Houser.
Yeah, and I want it to be different. I want them to be. I want the X-wing or the TIE fighter pilots to be well rested. Wow. Like this idea because there's so many more of them, right? That just like they're just well rested.
Yeah. So now they
just punch the clock.
Maybe one of the coolest ideas I've ever heard, which is almost like a Disney Plus sort of like mini series sort of collaboration in which it's like, or event series essentially, where it's like a TIE fighter show versus an X-wing show, almost like what Clint Eastwood did with Letters of Iwo Jima and the other film
Flags of Our Father.
Flags of Our Father that sort of coexisted together, but just do that on Disney Plus, 2 rivaling series where these people just fight each other, and that is the dramatic conflict that warrants a sort of storyline. That they're fighting each other and they're killing each other, and what are they killing each other over? You get to go political. You get to really dig into the drama there, and the stakes and the loyalties and what's happening there with the characters. Because I can't think of an event in the Galactic Civil War that matters more than maybe the Death Star 2 plans. Like there's nothing I can think of that really warrants.
We already got Rogue One. Yeah, this would be the other Death Star plans. Like I mean, it rhymes.
But if 2 people did a dueling sort of series, then you'd have X-wings versus TIE fighters in a really fun sort of duology type style that I think would warrant sort of making.
Yeah, that's what they did in the books, and I just think it was super effective. And there's nothing wrong, they always make one media as if you've never watched any other media at least, and they even make it adaptable if you've never seen a different like movie, I guess, movie to movie, book to book. Like they allow you to just sort of ease your way in. This is the world, this is what's going on, and then you can just sort of go for it. And I'm fine with that, man. I think if they wanted to do a feature, it's just like they use some of those tones and feel from some of those books that happened, and they just make a new story. And that sounds awesome to me. That'd be great.
Yeah. No, I can't believe we generated this much discussion out of Rogue Squadron.
I know.
So I'm just excited because we're just hearing the inklings that there's Rogue Squadrons alive, and I'm just like, that's cool, but like, what is it going to be at the end of the day? And I just, knowing that it's in the early stages of development just makes me think like this still has a potential to be anything. And if Lucasfilm is open to making this, it makes me sort of ponder what this could be essentially.
Yeah.
And it's fun to have that conversation. It's fun to have our friends online sort of have that conversation with us and chat about what could be. And it's so fun to talk about what's desired in Star Wars, because it is, I think people do think there are just basic ways to take Star Wars, which is like, let's do Jedi stories, let's do a Starfighter story, let's do let's do a sort of a fun sort of droid story or something that's quirky on the side, and then that's it. That's what Star Wars is essentially. And it's like, it's nice to sort of dream up these wild side ideas of maybe what these things could be. I'm so excited. I'm excited Rogue Squadron lives. I'm excited we might get this in the future. So I'm excited. And Top Gun Maverick with Rogue Squadron, people will show up. It will reinvigorate theater goers. It will be big.
And it's the only thing on the list that's not Jedi centric, or at least Jedi focused, right? Which is important. We need that. That's what Rogue One was not. There's Force stuff in there, but
and
we almost got through the whole thing without a lightsaber.
Right,
that's
so close.
And I mean, do you guys remember the promo video for the Rogue Squadron movie with Patty Jenkins? It's just out of nowhere. It's just like her on like an airstrip on a motorcycle. Like it was like at Golden Hour.
Well, it was so cool because it was like such a beautiful tribute to her dad.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. It was like a high production value like teaser. It was cool.
And I know a lot of people like sort of were pretty critical about Wonder Woman 2, but if you ask me, that movie was essentially a Top Gun movie. Like the way the actors performed in that movie and were almost winking to the camera, it just felt like a Top Gun movie. And like to me, it's like if she's paired with Rogue Squadron and X-Wings, that makes perfect sense to me because it's like she's going to get these like wonderfully vivacious performances out of her actors. That it's going to come a lot. It's going to jump off the screen essentially, and so that's what I thought about Wonder Woman 1984. Is I thought she's at least getting Pedro Pascal and Gal Gadot to jump off the screen essentially.
Yeah. So Patty, hit us up.
That's what
we got some ideas.
Yeah, I mean that movie had a take. And but there are things that in that movie I got to rewatch. I probably won't rewatch, but I probably should rewatch. But I remember watching that movie being confounded at a lot of things, but like it had a directorial vision to it. Does that make sense? Where I'm like, and I mean that in the good way. Is like I feel like she knew what she was doing, and it didn't.
Well, it was like between the CGI slop, there was like good stuff.
Yeah,
I was like, there's good stuff going on.
I enjoyed that movie. It was fun.
She hit 1984 quite well. Like I think you're right, Grant. I think I think I need to rewatch it. I think that one might age quite well actually because it is so much winking at the camera.
I think Pedro Pascal is quite good in it.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. I let's not forget it was also like the height of pandemic, and I was just like,
right. That was my overarching memory.
State.
Anyways, going back to the Wars in the Stars, they this article it was on Star Wars Newsnet. They called Donald Glover Stephen Glover for some reason. But it did start to put.
That seems legit.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
That was I have a real problem with typos in anything, and it's just so the world I live in right now. Even in professional journalism, like no one proofreads anything, and it makes me want to crawl up the walls.
No, they're not. We fired all editors.
Typo. What's the story?
Oh no, this isn't a story at all. It's just that in this article, this was the Rogue Squadron article. They also it started to put into place where these movies are going to fall. Like we're kind of getting this stuff, and we did have another quote from Daisy Ridley that popped out. I think it was actually 2 weeks ago, but she's imminently going to read the full script, and she expects production to start either end of this year or beginning of next for her movie.
Yeah.
So that's in the front end. We know Mando and Grogu's coming along.
Grogu.
This one.
Episode
then
10.
There's like another layer, right? And so Patty Jenkins and Rogue One is there, and people think that's where Lando is in too. It's like it's going to happen, but it's sort of in the limbo past it. Taika Waititi's got a film. That one's probably the next level past that. Like,
I would say let's. So I will say there are 5 kind of somewhat confirmed films right now. Like clearly like going into production at some point in the nearest future, right? Which are the 3 that they announced plus Lando, plus I would say Rogue Squadron. Taika Waititi's thing, I really hope we see it. That one's at that next level of like, who knows? But like, that has to mean we're getting back to a Star Wars a year, right? Like because otherwise we're talking about like 2035.
We might get.
Well, I think the output is this.
I don't want to go back to 2. I want 1. Give me 1, but I'll take. All right.
Just because it didn't work.
The output is
what? Sorry.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Grant?
No, I was saying
output.
With all that, I was saying, don't you think they're thinking about output and they're thinking about let's get
some irons in the fire.
I think the Daisy Ridley New Jedi Order film is almost the flagship of like moving forward, and then things are going to be jettisoned off after that sort of takes off essentially, and you might get a Dawn of the Jedi sort of standalone thing from James Mangold that sort of feels very apart from what's happening with this kind of MCU-esque main canon that is very marketable. If you look at sort of data analytics of the situation, it would probably be like, let's try and do some sort of canonical through line that continues the timeline of Star Wars as a sort of main flagship, and then have a side standalone Dawn of the Jedi, sort of one-off, almost like a primordial religious text on the Jedi.
And then things can fill in anywhere in between those 25,000 years.
And then
yeah, totally. There's so much room to work with.
Well, I would just argue that I think after they do the new Jedi Order film, that you might just want to like have all the branches be going forward in that timeline, in that direction. I don't know why. There's just an MCU aspect to that I think like they might try to latch onto. I wonder. I'm very interested in the approach.
I think they should go back to the original proposition, which was year. It's basically, you can say, even odd years we do episode numbers, even years we do standalone Star Wars stories, right? Yeah. Because here's the thing: the least successful Star Wars movie, still, after you take into account marketing, all that, still broke even. So they haven't lost a single cent in any of the movies they made, and that was Solo.
But the two standalone movies were long-term development sort of movies. Yeah. So basically, like John Knoll thought of Rogue One, I imagine, years before.
You mean Gareth Edwards?
Right. Scripting and with Gareth Edwards and all that sort of stuff. And then I imagine that the Han Solo film that was requested by Lawrence Kasdan in the 80s essentially.
He's had that one in his pocket.
These things were like gestating forever. So there were takes all over the place about this.
But there's plenty of takes now that we don't know of. Because even back then there was supposed to be the Yoda movie and the Boba Fett movie. But it's okay because you got the Boba Fett series and that was great.
Movie? There was a Yoda movie.
A Boba Fett movie. I get it. Yoda. That was divulging everything about Yoda at this point.
I think they smartly said no to that one. But if you think about all these movies, you could think of the backbone of the cinematic universe being the Rey movie. And that the Rey series, maybe those are even years or odd years. I don't know. Every other year we're moving forward in the timeline, and then every other year we're revisiting other eras of the Star Wars universe, right?
I just think Rogue One and Solo were very sort of specific examples of these standalone films that were gestating for long periods, and I just don't know what is sort of at the gates in terms of needs to be shot. Yeah. I don't know what's
both
there.
Both those films needed punch-ups, massive punch-ups. Right? Yeah. I mean, they brought in Tony Gilroy for Rogue One, and they brought in...
Right, because it seemed like they were basically the idea for Rogue One is so good that they had to make it. Essentially, it was such a good idea that it was let's show how we get the plans to the test. Let's show something that's so impactful in the original, 77 Star Wars that this is so impactful that we need to make a movie about this. And it is, and it works. And for that reasoning, it works and it's brilliant. And you happen to have some of the greatest performances in Star Wars history in that movie, essentially. Jyn Erso, Galen Erso scene, I'm happy to be on the record saying that's probably one of the best acted scenes in Star Wars. I've just seen a scene better acted. I mean, obviously Adam Driver does some incredible stuff. Daisy really does some incredible stuff in the sequels, but to me, Jyn Erso and her dad, that stuff was just
agreed.
Gareth Edwards, I guess. I don't know who directed that moment, but wow, really incredible stuff.
Really, Chirrut Imwe. Donnie Yen, my man.
Yeah, just really good acting and really, really great performances in Rogue One. It really made that movie pop.
Really good stuff. All right, why don't we start in on why we're here? We had a double header of Bad Batch, and so we've been burying the lead here, really. 2 back-to-back episodes 6 and 7. Yeah. Actually, I don't have the titles of them here. Just a bunch of other notes that have.
Infiltration
and then exfiltration, right? Or escape, or the escape. It's one of those.
Yeah. Infiltration and extrication. I don't know.
No, I'm serious. I think that's the other name.
I think you might be right.
In any respect, I'll wait. I'll vamp while you guys are both looking for it. Apparently.
I got nothing. Grant's going for it. But can I ask my question?
Oh, yes, here we are. We've arrived at Adam's question.
Yeah. So why does tech like to fall off? Extraction.
Infiltration, extraction.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Episode 6 and episode 7. Yes.
Yeah. So my overarching question is, why does tech like to fall off really high things?
Why? I don't know. Why?
I don't know either, but he fell off. He fell off a waterfall in this episode.
Tech?
Yeah.
Not Tech. You mean Crosshair?
You mean Echo? You mean
no? I mean
Rex?
Tech. I mean Tech. Who was? Okay, come on. That's Tech, guys. That's Tech.
Oh, you mean the Shadow Unit?
The Shadow Unit's Tech. 100% it's Tech. And he fell off a giant thing again, and he survived at the end of the thing. It's Tech. Sorry.
Wow.
Wait, you don't see his face the entire.
No, but it's Tech. He walks like Tech. He looks like Tech. It's Tech. He has a muffled voice. His voice is he has a vocoder.
You're right. And this is a special infiltrator, right?
Yeah, these are Death Troopers that they're building. I think that's my theory. This is
the
previous early Death Trooper things. It's Tech.
With that they're modified.
My word.
That sounds so right and so hard to deal with.
Wait,
I'm feeling so many emotions right now.
To fall from thousands of feet above
or
the
he
ground.
was, or not,
or Project Necromancer brought him back as a Death Trooper.
As an early gen Death Trooper, but they've reanimated his corpse into the ultimate killing machine.
But all right. I mean, I like the theory. It's a good
wild theory, bro.
No, I
really
like
not. Come on,
I like it, but
no one's ever really dead.
I mean, we didn't see it happen, but then you're right. I mean, the fact that he fell off another thing
and survived. Because here's my big question for you. So this is a new type of trooper that they have created, right?
Guy?
Because we hear Crosshair talk about it. Well, we hear what Crosshair talks about. They've created these things. They've already dealt with one of them at the beginning of this episode. So why do you have this new character, which doesn't seem all that special?
No, you're exactly right.
Fall and survive at the end.
Yeah.
The only way you do that is because there's a mask reveal. Also, Star Wars loves peeling off a mask and revealing something. It's Tech. It's Tech.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right about it because I think that's a good theory, and I think it's correct. But I mean, I only I watched these episodes knowing that we talked about them, but I didn't take so many notes because I just felt like it wasn't as elaborate as I think we all predicted it might be. We were like, they're going to Tantus, they're gonna see what's in the vat, and it's like, no. This is it's
pretty straightforward.
It was interesting because it was actually subversive. It was almost like it was the villains were doing the infiltrating.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so cool. I was like, wow,
called that.
Turned it on us right now. Is that this Shadow Trooper is coming in to spy on Rex and Hauser and Hunter and the batch, and I was just like, this is so cool.
Right. And that was my biggest question, was just why do we care about these infiltrators so much? Or these what do they call them? They're
troopers.
So I'm looking through, of course I have really informative notes like energy crossbow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that. I was just like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Shadow ship design. Oh, their ship for the they're called Shadows, I think.
Ship was awesome.
They called them.
They look like an arrow. Yeah, it looked like a head. And it was gorgeous. In the back, the engine, the rear exhaust, all that stuff just looked so good. I was like, where are these ships in Galaxy? Great.
It's like if you took a Nubian starship, but made it Empire core Kuat drive efficiency. It's just an arrowhead in the air.
It looks like a Mandalorian Fang fighter, but even more almost triangular and pyramidal almost. And I was like, oh, this is just an arrowhead that looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's just a sick concept come to life. And that show again,
so much detail.
I can't tell people enough. I can't recommend Bad Batch enough to people. Where I'm just
he's talking to you, Jonathan.
Go from out of Atmo to in Atmo and land and take all the time in the world landing and the struts coming out and the landing gear coming out and the exhaust like smoke coming out and the landing the landing pad bay door open and the person walk out. If you want that experience, watch these animated shows where he takes all the time in the world showing you these moments, and these are the moments that are Star Wars in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Can I also give you 2 points of evidence that this is not a show for kids?
Oh my god!
One, Crosshair nearly gets drowned.
I killed an Imperial officer.
I thought
the Shadow is holding his head.
Crosshair. Yeah.
They're holding his head. This is the third time in a day that I've watched someone getting their head held underwater.
You had a long day, bro.
It's been weird. It's also weird that I would see the thing from All Quiet on the Western Front from last year. a super brutal World War I movie, and I see the same thing happen in The Bad Batch. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah. Well, the horrors of war are very real,
right?
Yeah. No, Bad Batch is.
And the other thing is, I was watching it, and like again, the Bad Batch and everyone on there and all their allies are using stun shots, right? We noticed that they're using stun shots, except for Crosshair. Crosshair, because I guess you can't snipe with a stun bolt, shoots a pilot, and we watch that ship just crash and blow up and just destroy everyone. Which again, also saw that in Masters of the Air.
Yes.
Within a day.
Yes.
It's weird.
That is weird. Yeah, no, that was brutal. It was just killed the pilot, and he just like went down, and it was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get a surprise appearance by Commander Wolf. We know from Rebels that things happen.
This was such cool commentary to me, to be like, of course Hemlock would contact Wolf and these remaining clone commandos, commanders essentially, who basically who are going to follow the mission to a T essentially, and if the mission is we need to recover someone alive, they're so heroic and they're so allegiant to the sort of the cause of the Empire that they're going to bring these people back alive, whereas they may not be able to trust their shadow troopers or their other ops that are sort of like out there as basically lethal assets. And it was very cool to see. Like, I understood why Wolf was there. I was like, oh, I get why they still keep these clones in active duty, given that they have great performance records. Obviously, like Wolf probably is just like an ARC trooper, much like Rex, where he's just like nonstop delivering the dubs. And they're like, let's keep this guy.
And we saw Commander Cody. What happened to him?
Yeah,
anybody? I don't remember. He didn't die, did he? Or did he just like abandon? I think. Did he go AWOL? I think he went AWOL.
I think.
Well, he's definitely scattered.
I just don't. I can't remember if he died or not. But
I'm trying to remember. I don't think he does.
But they should really stop throwing these guys at Rex. I mean, they probably didn't know Rex was there, but sooner or later, like, none of these guys are gonna like go against Rex. Man, he's their boy. Like,
no. Yeah, he's able to talk them all out of it. And it's so good. And then the other thing I want to say about
they're just too good.
Kind of building on this is like they're too good, and like Rex, like just this idea of the emotional intelligence level of the clones is kind of amazing.
It's like better than
normal non-cloned humans. Apparently Jango Fett had some good, or maybe they teach them that when they were at the cloning facility. But like, so Crosshair has this moment where I can't remember if he's talking to Hunter or something else, but like he talks about loyalty, right? And he talks about the fact like I was loyal to the Empire, but they weren't loyal to me, right? Like that was his big thing. And then just that beautiful moment of like, and now I'm following you because Omega was loyal to me. Like I just think that's the idea of just like the reciprocal nature of loyalty, and that's what brought Crosshair back to the fold. It was kind of a beautiful moment of just a little moment of him actually having a conversation about why he's back. I'm just like, I was looking for loyalty, and I mistakenly put my trust in the wrong thing, and now I know that. Like it was just a nice little moment.
Yeah, it's beautiful because I think that is the math. I think he did the math, and it was like, you know what? Like they're not there for me. Like when I need support. They're there to just I'm expendable essentially. That's what I was told directly.
And he's like babying Omega, I think, in the second episode, and she goes, "You're worse than." Here's Baz Hunter. He's like, "I'm worse." I love that movie. It's like it's a great little,
Crosshair. Do we love this like redemption?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's growing on us now. At this point, now we're like, is Crosshair beloved? Like, yes.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be like everyone loves. I mean, everyone loves a villain turn back, right? Like. And to do that in a show where it's like I just think of like I know Buffy the Vampire Slayer has fallen out of grace because of the horrible nature of its creator. But like one of the best things they ever did was take Spike the Vampire and make him like a character that was in the show with a redemption arc. Like it's a character was like the big bad in season 2, and then by season 5 you're like he's a puppy dog.
But and like a redemption arc isn't this rote, thing in Star Wars when it's like you do a long form version of it.
Exactly.
It's like Crosshair's back and we're getting more and more episodes with him. We're seeing the psychological impact of doing, terrible acts and sort of what that's done to him. Like,
shows
to me, that is what Star Wars can do uniquely.
Yep,
and that's cool. That should be celebrated.
Yeah.
That should be tried. Yeah.
It's easy to feel redeemed when you die immediately.
Sure.
Nothing. But like one of my favorite things in like the old EU was just like Leia's relationship to Vader, right? Because like Luke would be like, "I redeemed our father was great," and Leia would be like, "I don't know him, and the one time I met him, he tortured me."
Yeah.
So. No, and he was sat there while my planet. He sat there while my home planet was blown up, and I'm like, I'm glad you had a nice little talk to with him on the Death Star, but not really buying it. Like, so I kind of love that, like this idea of like redemption
is
a
cool
long
that one
thing.
Twin doesn't get the catharsis with the parent, and then it becomes a sort of it becomes a longer drama that takes place.
That sounds like a great movie. I wish they made it.
Yeah.
Cool.
What else we got? Oh, they don't know what M counts are.
Yes.
M counts gets a discussion.
That's where we're going.
What could that be? I was like, I was screaming at my TV.
Right? Yeah.
Say midi-chlorians! Just say it!
Oh, so close. But that's like the MacGuffin for the next episode is they're like, what is this M count? What starts with M and it's in your blood? I don't know.
Yeah. Seems to be connected to the Force. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Nothing. I got nothing. Oh my gosh. So meta. Yeah, awesome. Did you notice that Omega started using a toothpick? She's like adopted her new dad, and it's like instead of Tech, it's Crosshair, which is so
I love it.
So disconcerting, but yeah, I mean, there's that. There's energy crossbow. So we get a weapons upgrade out of nowhere. That's sort of fun.
Yep.
Should be good. And so I just started like rewatching the series. I just needed a Star War. You ever just need a Star War? You're like, nope, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't want anything else to watch, but I need a Star War. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run this back. And
all right.
There's a scene sort of like there's another extraction, right, where the Bad Batch are leaving with Omega and they're facing off against Crosshair for the first time. And Omega's the one that like smokes like 3 people with a blaster, very like Princess Leia-esque from A New Hope. Except we know Leia had practice, but Omega's like, I don't know, I've never picked up blaster before. And
I mean, she grew up in a lab.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's already a dead shot. And I'm like, there was, I don't know if you remember this, but like an early conversation of ours, we were like, is she the new Crosshair? Like, are they going to train her as a sniper?
Right. I forgot about that.
Which is such a bad take because it's just like, now I understand what Crosshair represents, which is like, he's just a killer. Like his enhancement, right? The whole like premise of the Bad Batch is that they all are enhanced clones that have mutated in a beneficial way.
Right.
And they also call them enhanced, which sounds like it was intentional. So it's like they were lab experiments that went right. Enough.
Yeah.
And, but Crosshair's only redeeming quality is that he's a murderer. And like, now he's coming to terms with that. But so like, that's not a good thing to be like, all right, kid, you're going to be our murderer. You're going to sit in a crow's nest and murder people.
It's funny. I had a similar thought when I was watching that battle scene that we talked about, where like everyone else is using stun, and he just kills someone. And he's the only person who kills someone. And I'm like, that doesn't make him evil. It's just like what else does a sniper do but kill people? Like that's the only thing a sniper can do.
A sniper stun would look stupid.
I don't think it would work for some reason. I don't know why. Because it seems like
it'd be like blue, but really fast.
It would get larger and larger and larger, and then
it stuns a whole building. Like, oops.
Yeah.
Or whatever he says in the show.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're curious, I just clicked on M count in Wikipedia, and it takes you to directly to the midichlorian page.
Yeah. They're not pussyfooting.
So apparently, that's how
as it should. As it should.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that confirmed? I mean, we all know it, but have they ever actually said that?
Yeah. Hey, guys, did the Havoc Marauder blow up? I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm worried about the Havoc Marauder.
Well, you don't like Echo's new ship? That thing is awesome.
I do. The Ramona, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
I love Echo's new ship, but I miss the Havoc Marauder. Is it secret?
I don't remember.
Is it on Pabu?
I think it might have gotten destroyed at the end of season 2, and I'm a dummy.
I think you're right. Right. Yeah.
But I miss it. I miss it very much.
It's a great ship. You know what? I like it. The nose, like it's a little funny in the front.
Okay.
It looks a little.
I mean, it's just like
it looks like it has two eyes almost. It looks like a general. It looks like an Imperial shuttle.
Yeah, it's a Lambda shuttle sport.
But just like
right. It's like the sport model of a Lambda shuttle.
This is where we get if you love our this is where we lose a lot of listeners, where we just start to talk about the aesthetics of like shuttles for like 20 minutes.
That's what you're gonna get.
I don't know. You're listening to you're like an hour and a half into a Star Wars podcast. Yeah. Like what do you expect to talk about?
The best stuff, which is shuttle like
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Nuance shuttles that carry a lot of troops. I forget what those ones are called, but they're
oh yeah, there's a lot of those recently.
And then there's the standard Imperial shuttle.
Those are Delta class.
And then there's the Havoc Marauder. That's kind of like the.
All right. I'm really trying to find out more about the Havoc Marauder, but like Wikipedia is like spyware and all the other stuff.
Yeah. Wikipedia just crashed my computer.
I just Wikipedia'd Cody, and they didn't have he's still alive. He defected.
Yeah, he's still out there.
I just used Wikipedia and my identity got stolen. Sorry, I'm so done with Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I know. So Wolf, Gregor, Rex,
start my computer after
Cody are old.
Yeah,
like we
see
get
them.
No, they. Yeah.
Yeah. Have we seen? Is Gregor? No, we didn't see Gregor yet. We haven't seen him yet. He's gonna be weird. He's being weird somewhere, but we haven't seen him yet in Bad Batch.
They're all getting a little. They're past their programming or whatever. It's happening.
Yep. It was a light hunter day, like almost no hunter, which is weird.
No, very little.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the idea that it's not just the Bad Batch. You know, like shouldn't there be other cells of like fighters out there that have clones that have just been like.
Well, isn't the Bad Batch essentially this sort of like broad canopy of like all the clones that sort of fight back against the early stage Empire and sort of take down Mount Tantus? And strike back. The clones strike back. Essentially, isn't that what essentially Bad Batch stands for?
Yeah.
Is like all the clones. Sort of.
I said Bad Batch. I mean, they're kind of autonomous, and there are like avatars for this story. But I mean, like there should be more like Rex, like more cells, not just one. There's a lot of clones.
Wait,
I feel like they should like connect with another cell somewhere. Maybe that'll be Gregor,
Well, did you guys see some connections with Rex and Omega in these episodes, where you're just kind of like, are Rex and Omega connect? Is Rex have an M count?
Oh, I mean, technically they're all living things, so they all have M counts. But I mean, there's something about Rex, right? Like
Rex is like weirds me out. I feel like he has an M count.
M count by proxy, like he's just been like around the Chosen One for so long.
I don't know. I just felt like they're just vibes I get.
Yeah, I like it.
Nothing to feed into the Force with Omega theory.
No, I'm definitely. I stand by that. Omega will use the Force by the end of this show. I stand by that. I just think that's it's sort of like where it's all going, and it's to use it to save her family. Like it's just to save her family. Like she has to come through. Essentially, like they just constantly are sort of like doing everything in their power to protect her, and I'm like, I think she has to be the protector in the last act of the show.
It's that's what occurred to me when I rewatched the first episode, because I just feel like these clever guys are gonna like bury like a lot of hints along the way. Like Caleb Doom almost became Omega. Like they were ready to take him in the first episode and be like, you can come with us, we'll figure this out. Like that would have been an crazy powerhouse.
Yeah, that was so crazy when they're like, hey kids, stop, we just want to talk.
He's like you can come with us. Yeah, and then it didn't. He was like, "Nah, I don't trust you. I'm out." But it's like then they find Omega, like immediately find another child in need that needs their thing, and they find out genetically she's kind of similar. She's kind of the same thing. She's an enhanced clone, which like I sort of forgot that about her. I just thought she just came out as a woman. Like whoops, but Omega is enhanced. We just don't really know how. I mean, she seems good at everything. Literally.
She really does.
But yeah, and then we know she has this M count. I mean, she's good at everything. she has this M count.
She's a clone of a long dead Jedi.
Yeah.
She's a clone of Asajj Ventress. No, because I mean that accent, bro. Like it's just a Tamura Morrison that spent time around.
No, it's Tamura. But why is
right? I mean, that's the thing. Like accents are learned,
not little like
genetic,
new genetics. Like I don't know why that's beyond possibility.
Yeah.
In the in a fantasy science fiction, galaxy, I don't know why they can't just clone Jedi, like especially the Kaminoans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense that they would do that. That just makes sense. They're like, we're being manipulated by this Darth Tyrannus guy, right? And they're like, yeah, we should create. But Darth Tyrannus, he actually can manipulate the Force, and therefore we should be wary of him. But what if we created a clone that could use the Force? Therefore, we're not manipulated by our clientele ever again. Oh, great idea! Let's create Omega, this basically Jango Fett clone that can use the Force and sort of
spliced with Avar Kriss.
The first any sort of maybe Force, wielding, warriors that we can, rally to our cause and to fight against these, bad actors we have to deal with now.
Can you imagine if she was?
To me, that makes sense. It's organic that they would do this.
Can you imagine if she actually was a strand cast of Jango Fett and Avar Kriss? That's so OP. So OP. I mean,
why not?
It's crazy. Did you see the tiara she's wearing in the beginning? The circuit on her head? I was like, are you kidding me? That is I saw that in the High Republic issues, in books, months before the show started. Yeah. It was just weird. I was like, and that was like, Lucasfilm's the master of synergy. I was like, if this is synergistic, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be the best reveal, I think. For me.
Yeah. Side note: the Havoc Marauder is still fine.
Well, where is it? It's not here.
They just didn't. They just used it in this episode. It was last seen in the Return.
It's probably on Piro or Para or whatever.
Wait, don't they use
Pabu,
it? And then Echo flies a different ship. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think they flew away in the Remora or Minora. It actually should be right here. And then of course it's not because I'm an idiot. Oh, the Remora. Yeah. I thought I said Ramona. It's Remora, which is those are the things that suck on the underbellies of whales and stuff, right? Remora fish.
Yeah, those are the ones that are sharks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They just hang out with sharks, which is cool.
Yeah, and Ramona is the name of the person from Scott Pilgrim.
Yep, there we go. Figured it out. Figured that right out. But it's Pabu. So I bet it's
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, I think the Havoc Marauder is parked on Pabu somewhere.
That makes sense. That checks out.
In that salt air, rusting.
It's good for it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I heard, other than my only other note is
Shadow. This is where another example of where I think we're just almost getting stuff made for me. Where I was like, are they just giving me more armor? Is it Shadow Trooper armor this week? What is going on? Just these certain IP that I love is just sort of catering to a lot of the things I'm interested in, which is the armor. Love new armor design.
Love it.
Shout out to Shadow Trooper design.
New ship design, new armor design. I need those. Man. That's what Gareth Edwards gets the gold medal for that. I think Rogue One did the best new designs in a Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. The U-Wing or whatever. Where
the U-Wing
came into
the shore troopers, the tank troopers.
Yeah, Death Troopers too, right?
The Death Troopers.
Good call out, dude.
Really Rogue One. Gareth Edwards.
The amount of design in that movie is insane.
Yes, exactly. And it's the right amount. It's the right amount.
It still feels seamless with the original trilogy. It's really an amazing feat. Yeah.
U-Wings, tank troopers, shore troopers, Death Troopers.
Death Troopers. First, I was like, "This is crazy," and then I was like, "I love it."
Krennic's whole getup with the cape.
Yeah. It's always right. Honor what came before, presage what comes after. Always expanding. Right. This is our
Krennic ship that basically if you basically if you're not going to do a crawl and tilt pan towards anything basically having the coolest ship ever start the movie is also a good approach, which is Krennic's transport.
And it's just another play on that Lambda class shuttle, right? But it's it's
so incredible looking.
I mean,
It's gorgeous. It might be the most gorgeous shuttle I've ever seen.
Flying in over the black sands, like, oh, just stop it.
Yeah.
Have a day off.
That design alone, they were like, let's just show off the design for the beginning of the movie. That will get everyone in. It was like perfect design. Perfect.
Right on. We wanted to cover another. We're sneaking. I'm not even going to look at how long we've been podcasting because I don't care. Because I'm excited to talk about these two little bonus episodes issues from the comics from the Star Wars main run. Charles Soule, right? So always awesome. Yes. And I've seen these. You guys read these probably a million years ago, but I've been saving them for the pod.
So 42 I read a long time ago. 43 I read recently.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. A couple months ago. They came out, I think 3 months ago and 2 months ago. So, or less than that probably, actually. So, not that long ago, but
yeah. So you read them when they came out, but I always wait till right before the episode.
And then reread them. Yeah.
I'm under Lando's tribunal at this point.
Okay. Oh, I forgot that was happening. Oh, my gosh.
And it's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
Represented... there's a lawyer named Salio Giorgio or something.
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Giorgio?
Yeah,
it's Sally Giorgio or something. I swear to you, Adam.
It's something like that. But my favorite part is she's just like that'll work at the end when something major happens.
It's happening, Ben. We'll get there. We're gonna talk about it. I really don't understand why we're even doing it, but it's like Adam said many weeks ago. I was like, really, this is where this is going? Like after it's healing a crystal.
So because these are the two greatest episodes we're about to talk to you right now. Like it's just lore machine. I was like, oh, should I start taking notes? And I'm like, no, because my notes are the whole issue. It's just true. Awesome and lore after awesome lore.
It's also like saying the unsaid a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time in the sequels, like it's Kylo is basically needs to kill his dad per Snoke's, Snoke wills it, and it's like it's like he just wants Kylo to break down and feel more pain and therefore turn to the dark side. But they don't explicitly talk about it so much in the sequels. Whereas this comic is like, hey, let's explicitly talk about explore why you need to hurt more to turn to the dark side.
It also does something that I kind of wish we had seen in Ahsoka, but we can talk about that. And I just as a side note before we jump into this continues my argument against major crossover events in comics. Because this should have happened months and months and months ago, but literally like, oh no, we can't complete the story because we have to do our 7-part Dark Droids. So he just left this crystal and then came back to this crystal, which is whatever. And they just did something in the Amazing Spider-Man comic that drives me nuts this week. That was just like, oh yeah, I forgot to heal my aunt's friend because I had to go fight a gang war. I'm like, yeah, she's been in an insane asylum for months. Peter, go help her.
I kind of get it though. I mean, that's Luke Skywalker's life. It's like, save the galaxy, save the galaxy, save the galaxy. Oh, I have some time to myself. I'm going to start expanding my learning as a Jedi.
I know, but you gotta also think that like maybe the only comics that need to exist like between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi are like Luke healing a crystal, like getting the green crystal. That's like really all I care about.
I love that we're just right now. We're only
like there's really nothing else I care about as a fan. And so
right now that's
these two
all we're doing. All we're doing right now is Star Wars main run and Darth Vader are the only two ongoing series right now. Which I'm like, maybe that's what it should be for a little bit. Well,
maybe that's the only story we wanted. And again, I am partial to Leia stories. I'm partial to Afro stories. I'm partial to Anastasia stories. I like Han Solo stories. I like Lando stories. I
like the bounty hunters except for Valance.
Happening in between. I think you can tell stories in between. As a fan, I would just kind of, I guess, love to see where Luke got the green crystal. That's kind of like I guess that's kind of what I want to see between the two films. And these two issues are exactly
that.
And we got to be butting right up against Return of the Jedi, because like at this point he has his crystal, he's got his
drip,
Jedi
he's got his Jedi drip.
He's just
drip.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tight drip too, black on black on black.
Yeah.
Well, it explains the black, right? It explains
Johnny Cash.
It explains the green. It explains black. It explains who he is after all this moment. And it also is like, if you just confronted your dad and found out your dad was like basically the most evil person in the galaxy, it's like, you probably would have weird fever dreams or meditations with like Sith Lords and what they were in the past and all this sort of like this hate and this pain. it felt, again, Sewell, I just don't know how he does it, but like when I finish and complete any one of his comics, or his sort of like a series that he does, or his little event moments he does, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that actually makes sense. It actually enriches what I feel about Luke Skywalker in a lot of ways. And that's what I felt about these issues. I thought this was exactly what he should do. He should have these strange, mystical dream of this, terrible Sith Lord and their pain, and them trying to push pain onto them, and then Vader appearing, and it was just perfect. I was like, this is, and it gets to Vader, and I was like, of course, like, this is the main catharsis for Luke, is to then deal with his dad, and then who his dad really was, and like what Anakin Skywalker means, and all that stuff, like, or if that person's still there underneath. It's very cool, very hopeful.
Yeah.
It's very heartwarming and touching, and is peak Luke in terms of just like just how much he's just like, I need to learn how to heal a crystal because I think I need to do something like that also later, like a human, right? Like, it's kind of beautiful, and
it's also very heroic Jedi, which I really loved about these issues. I was like, he was like, I am a Jedi, and
very Jedi.
Sith is pushing him just to, like, just constantly pushing his Nietzschean outlook on Luke, and it's like, life is a struggle, and what are we but a struggle, and there's pain, and you should fight to not feel pain, and all this kind of really dark, foreboding stuff. And Luke's like, I'm a Jedi, like, that's what I am.
And just that, and there's like a one.
It was the beginning. That whole,
And there's that one page thing where he's just he sees the baby, the child that turns into the Sith Lord, and just shows up at every horrible moment of the person's life, and just like, I'm here. I'm here too. Like, this is, you're not alone, right? And
but it's cool that, like, in that, which is a beautiful sort of full spread image of all these broken up panels of like him with the Sith Lord, as the Sith Lord's feeling all this pain through his life, being abandoned as a child, and being lost on this planet, and being emaciated and hungry, it looks like, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, and then Luke's like, eventually, like, no more pain at the very end of that, which was fascinating to me, which I thought that was really some of the genius that Sewell brings to the comics, which is like, being a Jedi is hard. Like, at the end of the day, you're eventually going to want to just lash out and try to stop the pain that's happening, because it's so much pain for some people. And that sort of, the amount of pain can sort of compound and be hard for anyone to deal with. And it was just powerful. I was like, this
is super powerful
level of sort of power commentary to his work.
And so we get the origin of the green kyber crystal, right?
He's like, green? What's this?
So, like, here's the thing that I kind of wish had happened in Ahsoka. They gave it to me in this comic, which is like, so Ahsoka in the series, she goes to the world between the worlds, right? Like, she has this whole thing. She seems to come out of it as like Ahsoka the White, as kind of like, I've gone through catharsis. And I was fully expecting, we talked about it on this pod, that the next time she turned on her lightsabers, they would have colors again. And this happens in this book, basically. Like, I get it in this comic, right? But I'm like that's Ahsoka season 2. Like, if she's gonna be a Jedi, like, she's gotta, like, I have a feeling that's the moment where she just, similarly, when she doesn't know that it happened, but she turns it on, suddenly she has a great blue lightsaber.
Interesting,
or something,
because that's unprecedented.
Yeah,
right. It was the Ahsoka novel, I think, that canonized turning kyber crystals white. Like, when you heal red crystals, they turn white. I mean, that's a great underrated novel that we've talked about recently for various reasons. But yeah, so that would be unprecedented if it was like bang, and then she like brings them back to life. I mean, that would be super powerful.
Yeah. It's interesting that his turned green.
Well, no, his didn't turn green. He had a second crystal that was green.
Doesn't turn green at the end?
He had two crystals. He had a red crystal and a green crystal, and then he turned the red crystal white.
Right.
And then, he in his vision,
he saw himself have a green.
He saw himself with a green lightsaber, and he's like, "Huh, that's weird." And then he was like,
"Wait, at the very end, he doesn't hold up a green crystal."
I guess that's the one he had from before. You're right, Ben.
So, no. So when you jump back to the Christophsis the last time we were dealing with these characters and the crystals, he got a green crystal somehow, and then he had the red crystal that he couldn't crack, but like he was just like randomly given a green crystal, but then he saw himself in this fever dream wielding a lightsaber with a green blade and was like, I have a green crystal, so I'm going to use that one.
Why do they make a big fuss about healing the crystal at the end of the comic if it doesn't change color?
Because it was about confronting his dreams and that he has the power to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, my interpretation was a red crystal that turned green. But
I think you're right though, Ben, because I think he shows the green crystal at the beginning of the other issue as well. The first of the two-parter.
Yeah, in the first issue he mentions it. Yeah, I mean I just read it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay, I didn't read.
I didn't mean to throw a wet blanket on your.
No, not at all. How dare you bring the truth to this conversation?
Yeah.
No, it's fine. So that totally makes sense. And I like the fact that what he learns, kind of looking back, is that like that apparently is his color. For some reason, he's a green.
Yeah. Well, so it goes back. This was research I didn't do that I was going to, but in Knights of the Old Republic, each crystal has its own like sort of what rank or place you are in the Jedi Order, and I'm pretty sure green is Guardian or Protector. Well, that's the same thing. But blue is
so he heals the crystal, gives it to the lady, then pulls out a green crystal from his tunic, like in his shirt, and pulls the green crystal out. All right, there's a little slight.
Yeah, he had two crystals.
One panel in the 43 where it's basically he reaches in and grabs another crystal.
He mentions it in one bubble in 42.
Yeah, it's like one bubble
before this all happens. He's like, no, actually, I brought two crystals, and like, and that was a thing, and he's got it. So. But yeah, no, I think it's more the significance of the green, and like he sees himself in this dream and he's like, what is it? But I think that's the Force being like, you're not this keeper of knowledge, dude. You're a protector. Like you're a guardian. You're green.
Well, so that's
crystal.
so fascinating. The green is fascinating to me. I would love to talk about this.
Let's go. I'm here for this. I don't care if this is a 4-hour podcast.
For me, the green is. I don't know if you played the Knights of the Republic game, but the green is like the color of the consular Jedi in that game.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So yes.
Oh, okay. So consular.
So green is Jedi consular. Yeah.
And so to
Blue
me, that's
is Guardian.
He is the herald of maybe a new Jedi Order, and the leader of that Jedi Order essentially is kind of what that promotes in my mind. But yet we know his dreams quickly fall to ash, and his temples immediately destroyed. And so he is not the consular of his dreams or of whatever his foretold fate would be. He's not a leader of any Jedi. He's not the consular.
He's a guardian. Yeah, so it doesn't match up.
Well, it doesn't match up with what I ultimately look at as his fate. Because a green, to me, almost like blue would make sense for him, because it's like
his dad's color.
Isn't blue the guardian?
Yep.
Color?
That
blue
would make more sense to me.
So here's the thing: blue is a Jedi guardian, a Jedi who uses the Force on a more physical level. Yes. And then green indicates a Jedi consular, a Jedi who preferred to reflect on the mysteries of the Force and fight the dark side at its heart. That does kind of sound like Luke to me.
Like
I mean, even with his like advantage with Doc too, that seems like a very Jedi consular.
I would never call him a consul, but
no, I agree with you guys. No, I don't want to dismiss sort of like what we get with Luke and his reflection on the Force.
But I will say
it's just more of like if we're then living in the doctrine of the Jedi and looking at the green color from the doctrine of the Jedi, I'm just like, isn't this basically someone who then becomes sort of like the grand, master of a council, essentially?
Yeah.
Isn't that sort of
you would think they would be higher? And I think it says later that they usually are higher level. Like you usually see more of them on the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
I will say yellow indicates a Jedi Sentinel, as we talked about, a Jedi who honed his or her skills in a balance of combat and scholarly pursuits. Where I'm like, that's cool.
That's what he did. That's what he was doing through this comic book run.
Right.
It sounds like Luke even after this comic.
Hey, we're getting that with Rey, right? So like
this is like astrological signs. It's like you could apply it to anybody.
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
No, it's so true. It's kind of broad. But it's just funny that
I totally see myself as a green lightsaber person, and I never knew why until I read this. I'm like, oh yeah, it totally is me. I reflect on things a lot more. I'm not physical.
Right.
I'm a thinker, not a fighter.
It also makes a lot of sense because the hilt itself is his first master. It's like almost a copy of Obi-Wan Kenobi's episode 3 and 4 lightsaber. But the color is his second master, Yoda.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
It just also it looks awesome. Did any of you feel some kind of way when he was fighting with the green lightsaber?
I was like, well, I bagged him for the issue. I bought multiple issues because I was like, this is Luke getting the green crystal. This is a pretty.
I love the green crystal, the green lightsaber. It's still like as a kid, I still remember the moment that I saw that. Where I'm like, wait, they can be green.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
right, and then they could be red. When I don't know that they could be double lightsabers. When I saw that in the prequels, like my heart. Yeah,
we saw Maul and the Menace both sides.
I loved it. I just wish I didn't see it in the preview. Yeah. But it's amazing. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, I've always liked green because of Qui-Gon Jinn. That's always been why I've loved green. Yeah. Like forever, I've basically been like a Qui-Gon Jinn stan since the beginning. Just because. I just like that he was a band apart from the council, and during a time when the council was becoming more disillusioned with what was going on in the galaxy, and then lost in the miasma of politics and bureaucracy. It was sort of like Qui-Gon was like
Qui-Gon stands alone.
The truth.
Yeah. The truth.
Yeah,
he was the Paul Pierce of the Jedi Council.
So let's talk about something else for a second. So. We don't know what time period Luke travels back to, basically.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about this.
There's a moment where basically the Sith is just like, oh, you don't look like a Jedi. You are in rags and you have a lightsaber, and then tells a story about the only Jedi I had was the court jester who basically escaped one day, went to climbed up to the top of the tower and threw himself off. Where I'm like, whoa.
And she's like, that was the only funny thing he ever did.
Yeah. Speaking of like Dune, which we'll talk about maybe next week, that felt very Dune-like to me. Like that was just one of the most Dune moments where I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to know what time period that was.
Where like the
Sith rule was so absolute.
Jedi drool. Yeah.
That is a dark time.
It's very cool to imagine that. To me, that's probably the most sort of intriguing timeline next to the Galactic Civil War.
And Charles Soule's like
the oppressive regime is Sith, regime rather than the Empire. It's like it's so interesting to me. It could be very campy. Like I do wonder how we would approach that, given like are there Sith with lightsabers, like Dark Lords looking out, protecting all these like outer rim outposts.
But that's like Game of Thrones is what's weird. Sewell did like straight Game of Thrones with that. Was just like just humiliated, destroyed until the only release is death, like for a Jedi. Like that is I don't know. Right? That strikes me as grimdark. Game of Thrones-esque. Like they could go there, and I mean that would be wild. But I don't think I'm going to live long enough to see that Star Wars story.
No, not in TV form, not in movie form or TV form. But you might get some novels and things like that. They might go there because this is now like the fact that like I picture as like Sith like reign supreme. That's a lot of warlords who are fighting a lot of infighting, right? Like that feels like that's going to be the downfall of the Sith. The downfall of the Sith is that they fighting each other for territory, and then the Jedi slowly start to come back.
See, that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
a movie where like the Jedi logo is just like destroyed and basically covered in sand, and like the Sith reign supreme, but like some small
spark exists.
Band of Jedi sort of gather together and wipe the sand away, and we're like, no, we're the Jedi and we're coming back for this galaxy.
Let's go.
Like that's the movie I want to like rev my fist for and just be like, I cannot wait. It makes the Jedi all heroic again. It's a Star Wars dwelling on their fall, it's dwelling on their rise. It's seeing their rise. It's like it's something you can actually be hopeful for and excited to go to the cinema for.
Right. And it's a rebellion versus an empire story, but it's Jedi versus Sith, and telling a very not similar, but an idea, right, of that like small band of rebel Jedi.
It's like the Terminator, but like with a good ending.
Yeah.
And if you have like a 3 or 4 people like able to use the Force together, it's like they can do a lot of what sort of a rebellion is trying to do with like gathering intel and gathering forces and garnering ships and starfighters and things like that. And it's like this could just be like a few warriors who, because they're Force sensitives, they're incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that.
While also trying to hold on to the light, right? Like doing all this stuff and while holding on to the light, because you have to be when if you're a small group versus this. You think about like the American Revolution. You have to do some down and dirty stuff to topple.
You have to be extremists.
Empire. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you do that and still hold the light? I think that's a really interesting storytelling.
Exactly. That's very interesting. Yeah. Great. Most compelling territory for.
Like this is now canon. I know canon is whatever, but like this is now like it's the first time that they've talked about this, right? In Star Wars New EU, there's a moment in the timeline, and again, nothing gets past the story group, right? Everything has to be checked with the story group. So the story group just said, "Yep."
Pablo was probably like, "It's about time."
Yeah,
like we should.
Did we get a Darth name for this? Is there a moniker for this?
No, I don't think ever.
Actually, I think there is.
Okay.
See, that's not. So I've done a bunch of brainstorming on names for Dark Lords, and it's very hard.
Yeah,
it's very difficult. And one of the hardest things I think to do as a creative today is name a new Darth that's actually a great name, like a fantastic name. It's very hard. I urge people to just do that as a sort of thought experiment.
I still think they should have gone with Darth Petulant for Kylo Ren's character.
Yo, you got to see Dune 2 because Chalamet does like a sick Kylo Ren impression. I'm just saying like he was straight up Adam Driver Kylo Ren for a minute. I'm just going to say that.
Nice. What about Adam Driver's Roland?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, don't hate Adam Driver's American Treasure. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that role. It is Darth Petulant, but that's probably why he didn't even get a Darth. He's just like.
But I don't even. I mean that not as a takedown or anything. Like that's what Kylo Ren is, and I love that about him. Like he's a petulant little boy at first, and kind of comes into his own.
Okay. Anyone else want to take a stab at a Darth name for Ben Solo? Darth Swaggerous.
Really doing this? Darth Swaggerous.
I don't know, man. I'm with Grant. It's so hard to go with like a real like an actual one that doesn't sound too.
Because it's like you got to sound like an evil sounding name.
Right, but not like
evil
too much
sounding, but not too evil sounding that it's
right. Not like too on the nose.
Which is hard. That's all I'm saying.
Tenebrous is a great name.
Tenebrous is awesome. Let's be honest. Like Lucas struggled with this. You just remember Darth Tyrannus.
I mean, that's low hanging fruit, but it's a good one.
But it's a little
so
on the nose.
Though.
Darth Sidious, okay.
I will say it's good because it's Christopher Lee.
Right.
That's why.
Well, Maul, Bane, great. A 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard.
Darth killing most. Yeah. I don't know.
Darth Rage.
I mean, I like that they sort of veered into weird territory with that. He could have been a Darth.
Darth Moore.
Darth what?
Moore.
Darth Moore.
Darth Moore. I mean, even Darth Revan or Raven.
Yeah,
Revan was
like
a good name.
Yeah, Revan was great. Yeah,
Revan was good.
Malik.
Because that's the thing. It's like you have to like
Malik's
pick
a good
name
one
that sounds like a bad
and then
word.
Nihilus basically took Nihil took a lot of that off the table. Except they still were like, let's make the Nihil.
Yeah.
Right.
They were like, how about the Nihil though? I was like, well, we did have Darth Nihilus.
Yeah. Malik.
Yeah.
There's a lot
of great ones, but it's like, okay, think of one, like anybody. I wish Trevor was here. I never thought I'd say that. I'm just kidding. Trevor, I feel like, would have one. Or 6.
Travis?
Oh, Trevor, sorry. Travis, thank you.
Yeah.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Any hoozle. Perhaps we should call this a wonderful podcast. It was We came in on fire tonight. I knew it was just going to happen. It's felt like too long. I was just, I'm just gassed up on Star Wars. Like, it's just like it was in the news. It was everywhere. I've been watching the Star Wars. This is one of my best self. Is just thinking
something's coming. I don't try to get out of here, but I was actively surprised that we didn't get a preview during the Academy Awards, considering it was an ABC presentation. I literally was like every time, and then I'm like, oh, it's because of Taylor Swift. The only thing they're advertising is Taylor Swift for Disney Plus. But I think we got to be right around the corner.
It's coming
for a preview, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, come on.
I think the Rey movie was supposed to be first, and they don't have a script yet. And then I think they've converted Mandalorian and Grogu. Their script from season 4, I'm pretty sure, but I mean, they're still probably trying to turn.
What if a lot of this is just hearsay, and they're putting a ton of polish on the Acolyte right now?
Well, that's the thing. Like, when are we getting an Acolyte? That's what I mean. Like, I thought for sure we get an Acolyte. That's what I was thinking. I thought we were going to get an Acolyte
Skeleton Crew
during the.
That should be imminent as well.
I mean, Acolyte's coming out in April, May, June, 3 months.
And we haven't even had a teaser yet.
Right?
That's not going to happen.
No. It's odd, right? Like, it's really weird.
Is it? I thought it was 2025.
Yeah, it's June.
June?
No, the Acolyte has a June 2024. It has like a June date.
Really?
The Acolyte. Yeah. We're like months
and they haven't
away
even cut a trailer for it?
All right, April we should get an Acolyte trailer.
Right. Let's set an alarm or something for the end of April if we haven't seen a trailer for Acolyte.
Well, they might just push it. They might just push it a few months.
It'll be pushed, but it's like we'll know we're not getting it in June. I mean, I'd already say.
I don't think it's going to get pushed, guys. I think they want a summer. They love that.
I love that summer date
things. And what else? They don't have anything. They got nothing in the hopper for Marvel.
What
they got nothing
for Star Wars.
Were we in
season, Mando season 3?
No, Mando season 3. Wasn't Mando season 3 last summer?
Was it
Mando
this summer? Was it March, April, May kind of release dates?
It's summer-ish.
Something like that.
Right on.
It didn't go in June.
Anyways, there should be one in the summer. That would be best.
Dude, I was shocked it wasn't last week.
Well,
but yeah.
that's the way it goes sometimes. I don't know if y'all started reading. There's a new High Republic YA novel out, and I just started reading that for fun. That's something in the hopper. We're gonna have more Bad Batch next week. There's a lot of other things we can cover, man. I just want to keep these going.
I've been reading Mace Windu 1 and 2. It's been incredible thus far.
Yeah.
We have a new homeworld for Mace Windu. We have Coaxium Ultra.
We do have Coaxium
Ultra.
One of my favorite lines in a recent thing is, "These are really just shields."
Yeah,
referring to his lightsaber.
Great new character. Yaya Shred.
Okay.
Yep. Ben, you're not ready. You're not ready. You're not ready.
It's something. It's something else. It's really.
It's like when you read the
I love Mark Bernard
comic about the synopsis of the issue. Before and after. It's like, you're just not ready. It's so good.
Can't wait. So many good Star Wars things coming up. Stoked for it. We will talk to you again next week on another edition of us sitting around a bar, having a good time, chatting about whatevs on
Cantina Chronicles.